Hi Shaun, would you be able to just tell me a little bit about your background and your history and why you're here today?
Yeah, my background is from a little town in the northwest. Went to America, I made more money than I had common sense in the stock market. Money went to my head, and I started to throw massive rave and ecstasy parties with it. I'd watched Pulp Fiction, Blow, Scarface, I thought I was cool and the man and I was above the law. And in the end I had to pay the price. May 16th, 2002, SWAT team smashed my door down. Ended up in this jail. It's got the highest rate of death in America, and my writing got smuggled out about the human rights violations, and that's what led to me becoming an author and a public speaker.
And tell me about the message you're trying to get across today.
Well, I thought drugs were fun and cool because I'd watched the Celebrity Addicts, seen the movies, seen the music videos. I didn't know what it led to properly. And once I was in the jail and I saw the horror of what the drug use led to, 90% of the guys shooting up heroin, shooting up crystal meth, 2/3 had hepatitis C, slowly killing them, yellow jaundice skin, teeth rotting out. It made me ashamed of putting people on that road of drug use. But I knew I couldn't change my past. So I resolved to go out and share my story with young people in the hope they wouldn't make the same stupid mistakes that I did.
What kind of reaction do you think you got from the pupils today?
This is my second time at this school, and it's just been such an amazing reception both times. When I finished and asked the kids did they have any questions, like almost 200 hands went up, and the questions could have gone on all day, and it was like that last time as well. And you know, just to see all this interest and the broad range of questions that they ask just makes me feel really honoured that they're so interested in my story, and hopefully it will impact some of them and they won't go down the road that I did.
How did you originally get into touring schools and doing your presentation?
When I got released from prison, I did some BBC interviews, and a public speaker contacted the BBC, Tony McClellan his name is, out of Harley Street actually, and he said that he was willing to work with me and see if I'd be interested in going to the schools doing some talks. And that was mostly to private schools, but then I thought, you know, the kids in the state schools need to hear this as well. So I started contacting the state schools myself, and about 80% of what I speak to now is state schools.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Now part of your presentation, you show slides and you talk to the pupils about your stories in prison. What do you think is the most hard-hitting bit of your presentation?
The most hard-hitting bit of my presentation is something that I did not get into today because they were too young. I speak to colleges, I speak to universities, and the story about Zena at the end, the transgender prisoner, ends with a prison gang rape and beheading story, which is not appropriate for the year 9s.
Yeah.
So out of the context of what I talked about today was probably the images of the young people who came in to prison. They thought the drugs lifestyle was cool, and then they'd been attacked by gang members, and I showed images of young people who'd been slashed in the face, and you know, one guy had been slashed so bad he could stick his tongue out through his cheek. Yeah.
Do you think there's an image around drug dealing that people think it is cool?
Of course they do. That's why young people get into it. They watch these movies and they see the Celebrity Addicts in the music videos and they think, yeah, fun, cool, a buzz. And I got into it because I thought that, and I've also thought, you know, it's illegal, cops and robbers that can play this game with the police. Are they going to catch me or are they not? And if you've got that addictive adrenaline junkie personality like me, to me that's the high, and that's as addictive to lifestyle as addictive as the drugs. So there are so many young people who are born with that, it's shown in neuroscience, have got this addiction gene, and they're the ones that are really at risk of self-destruction if they go down that road.
Fantastic. Is there anything you want to ask?
Off you, not Caroline. So you happy with that?
I'm happy with that, yeah.
Okay, cool, that's great, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Well, were you involved in the sort of music scene at that time or anything like
No,
that?
I was a student, I was a participant in the early rave scene.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So I was working around that part of the world, the sort of early 90s and stuff.
Whereabouts?
Well, we worked. First thing I did, I did some stuff with Happy Mondays, and
All right, okay.
we did. I remember doing a festival there called In the City, and but it was just so it was interesting. I wasn't from Manchester, but I met quite a few interesting actors. Did a bit of work with Stone Roses at the time.
Right.
So it's that's your part of the world, isn't it?
Absolutely. The guy I live with, actually, he used to get his ecstasy off Bez from
Really?
Happy Mondays, yeah.
They were.
Yeah.
And I remember going to this festival, and we were sort of running the backstage area, and we had a company doing all this stuff. And
Right.
there were a couple of drugs heavies that tried to get in,
Yeah.
and they made sure that we weren't going to let them in.
Right.
They were going to come looking for us.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it was a bit like
Those
that.
Manchester gangs don't mess around.
No, they didn't find us, but it was that.
Yeah.
Oh God, we're not used to any of this, but you were obviously.
Well, look what happened to,
Yeah.
look what happened to the Hacienda.
Yeah.
They were killing the doormen and all kinds of
that right?
gang warfare broke out, yeah.
But what about your stockbroking years? How did you get into that?
I started getting into the stock market at an unnaturally young age. At 14, I started. Basically, what happened was 6 people elected to do economics in my school. So it was a very small class. And I had an aptitude for it, and the teacher he took me under his wing, and at lunchtime he'd give me lessons on my own. He'd have the Financial Times out, and he'd be explaining how it all worked. And then 16, I borrowed some money off my nan and doubled it in BT shares. And that was it, then I was hooked.
Yeah, it was a bit of a drug in that sense.
It was,
the stock
yeah.
market.
It was.
Isn't it? It's like a gamble.
Yeah. I mean, this is sort of, what year would
This was
be?
Margaret Thatcher's privatisation programme.
I watched that Nick Leeson film the other night,
Yeah.
it was
Rogue
like
Trader.
that. Rogue Trader,
Yeah.
And it was a bit like that, was it, from your experience?
Well, what I was doing in the stock market was legitimate. I mean, he did some fraud, didn't he? My criminality came into the ecstasy market.
No, I'm not saying that. But that was what he did was something a bit special. But but you were obviously mixing with that sort of.
Have you seen Wolf of Wall Street? Yeah. It was like that. I mean, the stockbrokers I was with were doing cocaine and crystal meth, and that's how I was getting introduced to the American drug scene was through the stockbrokers originally.
Were you working for a British company and then you went to
No,
America?
American company.
So you went straight over there?
Went straight over there, yeah.
Was this New York?
No, it was Arizona. I wanted to be an investment analyst, and for that I would have had to have gone to New York. I found out, so in the end I became a stockbroker.
Well, how much? I mean, you say that you got very successful at it, and that's where you thought you were, you'd made it. But how successful were you?
First 2 years, I was living off cheese on toast and bananas.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to cut it, and I was running out of money on my student credit cards.
All right.
Worried I was going to have to come home.
Yeah.
5 years in, I was the top guy in the brokerage office, which only meant I was grossing $500,000 at that point, and I had my own staff and stuff like that. Yeah. But then I had enough money to retire, and this was just as the dot-com bubble was starting. And my main thing was selecting shares, which is what I like to do. So I just set off then and invested the money myself. I bought 30,000 shares of an Indonesian satellite company, stock symbol PSNRY, around $5, and that ended up going up to over 50 itself. So in the end, I was worth about $2 million in the stock market. And the thing was, I didn't need to be getting involved in the drugs. If I hadn't chose the drugs, I'd probably worth about 10 million right now instead of lost everything.
Well, so you obviously, it was around you everywhere. People were doing it. It was.
Good grief, yeah. They called Phoenix the Valley of the Spun because so many people were on crystal meth.
Yeah. The Spun.
Spun, S-P-U-N.
SP.
That's how people are described when they're high on meth. They say that they're spun.
Ah, right.
Yes.
Spun out, like spun out.
Spun out, exactly, yeah. Because it is the Valley of the Sun because it's so hot.
Right.
Even the
it's a pun. Spun is a pun.
Even the helicopter guy that was in the news doing the weather forecast, he got busted with. He was up there on high on crystal meth in the helicopter.
Did you not feel that when you got out, given that you were quite successful at it, you might go back to doing that kind of stuff? And not the drug dealing.
To build that back up, I would have had to have been employed by a firm, and I would have made good money, and I could have started investing it again. But no firm in the right mind are going to give me a job because
it's not something you can do independently.
Yeah, but you need capital. Yeah. So.
Because you obviously, so you stockbroker, you invested your money in the stock market.
Yeah.
Made quite a bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're into the drug scene, having your wild parties. But when you were convicted, automatically, did they just take? I mean, because you mentioned that, so that it's probably different. I don't know if it works the same in the UK, but did they automatically seize that as kind of assets from your illegal drug dealings? Was it? Is that how they?
The war on drugs it's a business model as well as a government policy. So the police will target people who are stupid enough to be wealthy and be committing drug crimes, and I put myself in that position. I was one of those stupid people. So by getting involved in drugs, I opened myself up to losing absolutely everything, including my pension that I made as a stockbroker.
So they could legally just take, they literally take everything from you.
Take everything. In America right now, if kids get pulled over, teenage kids driving their parents' car and they've got weed on them, police take the car. It's called civil asset forfeiture.
Blimey.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you obviously you had literally all your assets were then seized by the state because you were a convicted criminal. Okay.
So how long are you inside for? How long are you in prison?
Just under 6 years.
Right.
I was looking at 200. Every time I spoke about drugs on the phone, carried 5 to 10. And if I'd have gone to trial, and it cost the state money to go to trial, they'd make an example out of you. I saw one guy go to trial, they were offering him 15 years, and he said no, and he went to trial and he got 200.
Is it plea bargain you
Plea 98% of the prisoners do plea bargains in Arizona. Because if you go to trial, you will get the super aggravated maximum sentence and they will stack your charges. They don't want to spend money on trials.
So literally, okay, you don't even actually go to a court then when you do.
If you exercise your right to a trial, you would get a trial. What I got was 26 months of going court every month, where my attorney gets up, says this guy's the golden boy, he's a saint, where the prosecutor gets up and says this guy's the antichrist, he's the devil. I'm never ever allowed to speak, and it's a theatre show. Courtroom is theatre, and whoever's got the most money just puts on the best show. It's the most Kafkaesque, bizarre thing that I've ever been through. Yeah.
So after that process, then that's when you were sentenced. So you said it was 26 months.
After 26 months, I agreed to sign a plea bargain for 9.5 years. As a first-time non-violent drug offender, I only had to serve just under 6. My lawyer actually got a loophole whereby, because I wasn't a citizen, I didn't have to serve, 100%. I had to serve.
Because it was 9, wasn't it? It was 6.5 out of a 9.
9.5 went down to 5 3/4 of what I had to serve.
What was the name of the prison you went to?
Okay, I was in about 10 different facilities. So the jail, the one that I get into mostly with the kids that's got the most gruesome conditions, was called the Maricopa County Jail.
And that is in Arizona.
In Phoenix, Arizona.
And then who was the notorious
Sheriff Joe Arpaio, and Arpaio is spelled Arpiao. Arpaio, yeah.
I can say, actually, I've got some stuff because I wrote about this last year actually, so I may just whiz it over to you because I wrote it all over last year. But so he's very, very noticeable. He almost loves the fact that he's the toughest. He is the so-called toughest jail.
Toughest sheriff in America.
Toughest sheriff in America at this particular jail.
He personifies tough on crime, basically. He's got them out in tents left over from the Korean War where the temperatures just go off the scale, and he's got women on chain gangs. And he's doing all these publicity stunts, like he's got Steven Seagal and his posse. He's got a website where you look at the mugshots of the newly arrested prisoners and get to vote on who's the ugliest. But behind that facade, he's created this extremely dangerous environment. According to National Geographic, who did my episode, 62 people died over 5 years around the time I was there. And they weren't big bad gang members. And
unexplained causes. This is not suicide.
Some of them were murdered by the guards, yeah?
It just sounds like the white. You can't believe it's America. You can't believe it is a so-called sort of democratic first world.
He's saying, I'm making it hard for them, I'm saving taxpayers' money, yet he's paid out $50 million in lawsuits because of all these deaths and all this brutal stuff. And a diabetic woman was in there, her daughter was calling the jail all morning. Mum's a diabetic, she needs a medicine. Just completely ignored her, and she went into had a seizure and then died. The guards just told her to stop crying when she was falling down. You're in jail, deal with it.
Horrific.
Yeah.
I go to America quite a lot. I'm always terrified of, I'll go to jail, I crash my car, I'm in jail, because of what you see on television about American jails. So there you are, you're banged up for 9 years, you're walking into the jail, what are you thinking?
What are you thinking when you walk in?
You think American jails, horrendous gang, it must have been terrifying.
When you're a skinny, nerdy business graduate from the UK, and all these massive tattooed men just suddenly come at the plexiglass, looking down at you like you're fresh meat. You're thinking, you've seen all these movies about dropping the soap in the shower, Shawshank Redemption. Can I be a friend to you? That kind of thing.
And it was like that.
Yeah, it was. I met characters like Teabag from Prison Break, and guys were hitting on me all the way through it. There's a lot of frisky behaviour.
So how do you deal with that? How did you survive it, basically?
I don't know how you survived it, actually.
You must have picked up, right, there are ways I can do this.
I've actually got a YouTube series going out right now called PSA, Prison Survival Advice. And one of the most important ones is to make alliances with the right people if you're not a fighter. I was lucky in the sense that over the 100 people who arrested with me were some of my bouncers, including my best mate from my hometown, Wildman, who's really big. He's a fighter. But after I got split from them, the guy who started protecting me was two Tonys, and he was a mafia guy who was doing 141 years. He'd left the dead bodies of rivals from Arizona to Alaska. In the prison hierarchy, if you're a murderer of gangsters only, you're at the top of the respect. If you've murdered a woman or a child, it's KOS, kill on sight. The prisons try and kill those guys when they come in. So once two Tonys took me under his wing, I never got smashed again after that.
Why was that? How did you... Was it just...
How that happened was, there was an incident where I got moved in with a serial home invader torturer who was threatening me. The night I moved in with him, he's saying, I've got a padlock in a sock, I can smash your brains in while you sleep, I can kill you whenever I want. He was off his head on heroin and crystal meth all the time. I mean, there was more drugs in there than anyone on the face of the earth, and it escalated with him to the point where he knew my family were flying to visit me for Christmas, and he got his mate, this 20-stone California biker, to attack me just when I was going to this visit with my mum and dad. And it didn't work out well for me. He snuck up behind me in a crowded corridor, bam, started hitting me, and you've got to hit back or else you're punk and everyone's going to prey on you. Yeah. So I started hitting back, and it was like hitting cement. And then he was training kickboxing, and he just smashed me up, knocked me down. He ended up going to the visit all injured, and I got a new cellmate. I managed to get moved. I called the British Embassy. I said I had my family call on the British Embassy, so I was, I thought I was going to get killed in there by this new cellmate, and they ended up getting me moved without snitching him out, because that would have got me in trouble as well. And my new cellmate, he was looking out for me. I didn't understand what was going on at the time. I learned this later. He introduced me to two Tonys, looking out for me. But what he said to me was, why don't you go and play chess with a friend of mine? So I went out into the day room to play chess with this guy, and I said, okay, cool, because I enjoyed playing chess. And I said to him, well, who is this guy? What's he in for? So he's doing 141 years for mass murder.
I'll let him win.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly what I thought.
What did you say?
I'll let him win the game.
This was my dilemma, right? Because
would you respect you more for actually?
Exactly. This is the dilemma. Do I let him win? Yeah. Because some people get upset if you win them quickly, or do I just, if he's mediocre, do I just win him quickly and just get it over with? And I thought to myself, and this was perhaps one of the most important decisions I ever made, even though I didn't realise it, was I'm just going to play as I play and just do it. And however good he is, I'm just going to do my best and take him down if I need to take him down. And I took him down quite quickly. And he all throughout the game, he was announcing his moves, and I'm thinking, this is pretty dumb. But he was the one this was an examination of me. And I'm thinking I'm the smart one. And he's banging, like this, I'm going to do this. So I took him down. And in the end, he said to me, look, Shaun, he said, on the road of life, to stay alive, I've had to become a quick judge of character. And I like you. I think you're an honest person. Would you write my life story? And he knew I was a writer because my cellmate had already told him I was a writer. So he'd come down to test me, to line me up for writing his life story, basically.
Which is what you do now.
Which is his next book. It's my next book. No, he's dead.
He got killed, did he?
Died from liver cancer from his own drug taking a couple of years after I got released. 2010, I think it was. Yeah, but his spirit lives on in me because he taught me a lot about appreciating the small things in life. His favourite book, one of them, was A Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich. And you guys read that? No. Ivan's in the gulag, where they're freezing and they're working these guys to death, losing noses and toes to frostbite and stuff like that. If you refuse to work, you get hung from a tree or dragged to death by a horse. So in the prison where we're at, the prisoners are complaining the breakfast's cold or the recreation isn't happening on time. And two Tonys yelling at me, look, we're in the Siberian gulag where Ivan was at. They were fighting over a fish eyeball in the soup. How can you guys be saying the breakfast's cold? What is wrong with you? And from two Tonys I learned, once you appreciate the small things in life, you don't go looking for trouble in all the wrong places.
It's gratitude, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can say that to us, moan about our little lives about gratitude. It's just
Absolutely, you can apply. There's no dead rats in my food anymore. There's no cockroaches in my bed. I wake up with a smile on my face. I remember what Tony said, and conditions are so good in the West. It's like.
So he helped you survive that period then?
He protected my life, yes.
So,
literally, because everybody was required to do so many absolutely nasty things to people, the fact that obviously you didn't either have to, the fact that you somehow managed to escape having to go and inflict something, because they would test you out, you've got to stab him or we'll kill you. What will you do? Stab him. So there was all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the fact that you didn't get raped, I don't think you do, you haven't told the kids.
Didn't get raped, no.
Right, you didn't get raped, you didn't have to, obviously you got smashed a few times, as you put it. You didn't have to go and kill somebody, and you kind of survived, and you're obviously mentally sane, as for what I can tell.
Did you win that chess game? You did win the chess game.
Yeah, I whopped him. Because I figured that if I didn't, he would see through it and think I was phony. Yeah. That was my decision. But I was thinking about letting him win in the beginning. Yeah. But I reassessed that in my brain, and I was extremely nervous the whole time as he was coming down the stairs.
I just imagine you
doing small talk as you were playing. Or...
You're doing.
Well, I was so scared. I didn't know what to say to him. When he said he's in for mass murder, 140 ways, I'll just go get him. And I'm like, I'm just crapping myself. Yeah. And I'm in the day room, and he comes down, and the guy he's an older guy, looks a bit like Uncle Junior, and he's talking that Uncle Junior kind of fashion from Sopranos. And he could see I'm nervous, and he put me at ease. He said, "Oh, you're a bloody Brit, are you? Have you ever had crumpets with the Beatles or something like that?"
That possibly saved you a bit. Being a limey, don't they?
Yeah, being British really helped me. Yeah. They would say, "You're a goddamn limey cousin from across the pond," and they'd ask me if I knew the Spice Girls and the Beatles and stuff like that. And believe it or not, on more than one occasion, prisoners and guards asked me what language do they speak in England.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've been maybe obviously not as well as you have, but they can't understand. Some places I'd go, they can understand. Sorry, excuse me. Stuff like that.
I'm surprised that you didn't give you a nervous. I mean, I think that constant, the pressure of life. I mean, it is extraordinary. I mean, some people must go in there, and that's why you have mental health problems. If you don't go in, I mean, a lot of people go in with them. We know that, and if you don't get it whilst you're there, because I mean, to me, just imagine maybe that high adrenaline. It's amazing that you did. You are sane, didn't go bonkers or want to kind of kill yourself, because I'm sure a lot of people...
Did both. The adrenaline is non-stop. Here's the thing with me though, I had anxiety from a teenager, because the most violence I ever experienced in my life wasn't from the gangs or the mafia or any of this. I'd gone to fill up my mum's little red car with petrol, and I got attacked by 4 drunks, and they beat me down. I was in the fetal position, they were kicking me in the head, one pulled out an iron bar, hit me in the head, knocked pieces of my front teeth out. And I went all warm, my body went all warm, and I felt to myself, I couldn't even feel the pain anymore, and I felt to myself, this isn't what getting beat up is like, this is what dying feels like. I thought I was dying. So after that, I woke up, I was unconscious, I woke up, they smashed my car window, teeth missing, bits of teeth missing, stuff like that, and I was ashamed about it and stuff like that, and I held it in, and I didn't, when I went out to clubs then, I wouldn't go out and dance, I wouldn't talk to women and stuff like that. I had this anxiety.
Because of the attack?
I was going through a bit of teenage anxiety anyway, but that compounded it. And that's what led to me taking the drugs. Because when I took ecstasy, all anxiety melted away, and I wouldn't stop dancing, and I wouldn't stop talking to people and hugging people all night long. And I didn't understand psychology and all that at the time, but I was self-medicating that anxiety. Now, onto your point about the jail, the anxiety in the jail driving you insane, because I had this pre-existing anxiety of being around people, once I got in the jail and I was forced, sober, to be around hundreds of people who, it was so threatening though that to this day, I prefer to sit with my back against the wall in a restaurant, because one minute they're all happy, next minute someone's getting stabbed or something like that. So being forced to live in that environment, I feel actually helped crush the anxiety out of me, because the world now is not a threatening place. If you've gone from somewhere where someone could just get someone sat there could just suddenly get stabbed at any moment, and that you live in that for 6 years, and now I'm sat here with you guys where that's not going to happen, this is a safe place now. So the anxiety I've been in the 6 years to go into the world where I don't have the anxiety anymore because I feel so safe.
But now, I suppose in terms of just living at that constant adrenaline and not knowing, I mean, it must have just been horrific. I mean, we all have stressful times. We know when something at work is happening. We have perhaps a week or 2 weeks, a month where it's all kind of. But that was just no escape, is it?
What happens is it puts a look of shock on your face. When I first went in, the gang members would come up to me. I'm going to show you my picture and my driver's license if I've got it on me. When you first go in and heads are getting bashed against toilets and stuff like that, and the gang members were coming up to me saying, "You've got to get that look off your face, or else you're going to get preyed on."
But this is a vulnerable face.
Yeah,
This is the vulnerable face.
But six months later, you've got what's called dead eyes.
Well, yeah,
You see so much violence, you're immune to it. And I still had it when I got out and had my driver's license picture taken.
You look like
Completely unemotional.
Do you actually look? I don't know if you look. You look like you're Middle Eastern, quite frankly.
That's what that was what was taught when I just got out of prison, because that's to get my new driver's license.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. You can see you're more relaxed on your face now. And everything.
Yeah, yoga and meditation is what's really helped me.
I just go back to that chess game. I just wanted to see you when you moved checkmate and you looked at
Oh God.
I was fucking filming that.
Chess with two Tonys.
Were you an addict?
I was in denial.
You were in denial?
Yeah, the therapist says to me, "Shaun, are you an addict?" No, that's someone who lives under a bridge, shoots up the heroin every day, goes out robbing. I'm a party person.
Yeah.
Go out on the weekends, get my work back on Monday or whatever, get back to the real world, then go back out on the weekends. And he said to me, "Shaun, an addict is a person who does drugs to the point where it affects their life." He says, "Take a look around you right now, where are you?" So I look out the window, razor wire, gun tower. I'm like, okay, maybe he's right. And that was the wake-up call I needed. And this therapist, it was amazing.
In prison, obviously.
Yeah, a lot of the medical staff in prison have been barred from public practice. And in general, they were experimenting with the latest psychotropic medication on the prisoners because it's considered institutional use. The prisoners will never ever talk to the medical staff because they think it'll all be used against them in a file. So I fell into the hands of this therapist who I actually talked to, and he was against all the pills, and he was holistic and into Eastern philosophy, and I had brilliant rapport with him, and he knew I was reading all these books on psychology and philosophy, and I'd go in and discuss all my quotes for the week, and this guy really helped me build a framework in my head, not just to identify my addiction, but give me the tools to deal with it in the future, not to go back to that behaviour.
One last question I was going to ask you. So, how do you know how you got busted in the first place?
10 witness statements, snitching over the years had led to a attempt to infiltrate us by undercover police that had failed, and then they authorised by the judge wiretaps on the phones.
So there you were one night in your apartment, were you, or wherever? Where were you when it happened?
When the SWAT team came?
Yeah.
May 16, 2002. It was the stock market just about to open, and it was like really early in the morning, like 6 in the morning, something like that, I think, and just bang, 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 bang on the door, and that was it then.
Your house or apartment? Or was
This was an apartment in Scottsdale I was living at with a lady who had actually talked me out of the dealing. I'd actually quit over a year before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I was naive to the statute of limitations. If you commit a drug crime in Arizona, they have 7 years to prosecute you, and all it takes is someone to say within that 7-year period from your past that you sold drugs to them. I thought they had to catch you with the drugs.
Yeah. No, they didn't.
That was my naivety.
They had enough on you.
Yeah.
How old are you now, Shaun?
47.
47.
Yeah.
And how many of these talks have you given so far?
Last year it was 150. I'm not sure what it is so far this year, but it's just gone from strength to strength. I do actually do 2 talks to schools now. I got my prison one and a life lessons one.
Yeah.
So a lot of the schools have been having me go back, and a lot of the schools have referred me to other schools. First few years I was advertising it. I don't advertise it anymore. It just ticks over now by referrals and stuff like that. Yeah.
You said you started doing them in 2009. So you did the first one in 2009. And when did you get out of jail again?
I got out of jail in December 2007.
Okay, so okay.
Yeah.
So in a kind of way, I see is you are sort of a man on the path to redemption in a way.
Hopefully.
You kind of drive. You're very passionate. You're very driven, aren't you? Because you're still absolutely driven, as you obviously you've been doing this for a number of years.
Yeah.
But there's a passion, there's a fire about it because, and you said you don't want the kids to follow your path, so you're kind of determined. So it just feels like you're possibly or atonement. I don't know, things like you're atoning for your past sins.
No, you're 100% right. And what keeps that fire stoked is the responses from the students. And if you go to my Twitter and look at my Twitter likes, it's just all live feedback coming from the students. And I also get emails from kids. One kid said it helped him get off drugs and all this stuff out of St. Helens recently. And sometimes parents request to meet me. And the parents will say stuff like, we're lucky if we can get a grunt off our kid when he gets out of school. After your talk, he wouldn't shut up about it. And it was the first time we could sit down and talk to him about drugs. So I did bad. Created a lot of bad karma, getting people on that road of drug use. And I believe in yoga and karma. And like you said, I'm trying to restore that and redeem myself.
How did this particular talk? You live in Surrey, don't you? Is that right?
Yeah.
At the moment?
Yeah.
How did this one come about? Was this word of mouth?
Okay, I ended up here as part of the Camden Literary Festival. And when was that, a year or two ago?
No, it was actually this time last year.
This time last year.
I'll have to look. Yeah, pretty. Actually, no, it was probably April. I think April. I can give you the actual date. So you was because they always do stuff in school.
Yeah.
You came along to talk about your book.
Yeah.
And then you did stuff. Whilst you're here, you did something for the Year 9s. You did an evening talk, which the community came to.
Yep.
And there was a massive buzz. I know there was a huge buzz about it. And so I'm making a link here, but I know that somebody in Rotary, the local Rotary, particularly wanted to pay for you to come back here.
Oh, that's nice.
And I'm thinking, and this is what my assumption is, that it must have been either somebody who was in that talk last year, or somebody who heard about how amazing it was.
Mm-hmm.
So we really do need to acknowledge Rotary, because that would be a really nice
definitely.
PR point of view. But I'm pretty sure, I haven't got that link yet, but I can't see how somebody just randomly would say, well, let's have that Sean bloke back.
Right.
It must be
It
must be I'm sure it must be a parent. It must be a parent. But I'm hoping. You should really. I hope you can come every year, because it's just. Yeah, literally, as you were waiting outside, he was just fielding everybody. Everybody wanted to have a question, didn't they? Everybody had a question.
All the hands went up. Yeah.
What's the worst thing you did in prison? Well, I didn't do anything because I was good. But just everything. What's the worst thing? Ones that they're just.
I've actually recorded that bit as well. If you guys wanted to use a clip of that.
Brilliant.
If that's all right with the school.
Yeah. Here we are. Who'd have thought you'd been in an idyllic chip in Camden, Cotswolds, talking about this 10 years ago when you were banged up in some Arizona.
And I had no idea when I was in the cockroaches.
Life does strange things.
It does. That's what's good about it.
Could you have survived this working in the stock market field, doing what you did, and not been involved in all this? Drugs was everywhere, but you could have done it, you reckon?
It would have took strength of mind that I didn't have. I've got this thrill-seeking side to me, so anything that's risque, I was there. Yeah. It was just irresistible. Yeah.
You could not. Yeah. It was just one of those things. So in some ways, you don't look back and think I could have been, very wealthy, living in a big house and just.
I'm a happy-go-lucky person, so I don't dwell on negatives, and I don't harbour resentments to people for things.
No.
It's just negative energy that wears you down personally.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. But brilliant. It's been really interesting talking to you.
I appreciate all you guys' interest in my story.
What we'll do is, have you got a card or something like that? Or we'll send you some links or whatever we do.
I'll share that on my stuff.
How do we do justice to this? Because you're going to be a news article, but it's absolutely been brilliant, hasn't it?
It's been
fantastic.
It's been absolutely.
And I'm just, this is obviously Shipping Camden School, but you must go into some, inner city schools and do the talk. Do you see a different feedback from the kids?
I do a whole range. I go in places like Croydon and Hackney, where the gangbangers look at me like, who's this guy coming to tell us about drugs? Because as soon as the teacher takes a drugs talk, they all tune out. But as soon as I start to get into the jail conditions, they're on the edge of the seats. And the teachers tell me at the end, the kids who stay behind and ask me the questions are the hardest to reach students. Really? And then I speak at schools like Stowe, Westminster, and because they've got the money, they can easily afford the drugs. In prison, we call drugs the great equaliser.
Yeah.
It brings people together from all walks of life into
Yeah.
the prison system.
Yeah.
Affects everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And your background was average background like the rest
Yeah,
of us? Just,
I didn't grow up with money. Yeah, from a little town in up there, and it's just a little chemical manufacturing town, Widnes. And I was told, when most people my age, further education was frowned on back then in that town. It was my parents who encouraged me to go to uni, but most of my mates just left school and got jobs in the town, and a lot of them never even left the town and stuff like that.
Where did you go to uni?
I went to uni at Liverpool.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Was that economics or business studies? Or?
I did business studies, but it was mostly economics. One of my professors was actually Sir Patrick Minford, who was Margaret Thatcher's chief economic advisor at the time. Yeah.
So you're a bright lad in your class. That was an easy route for you to take. Or
If I'm interested in something, I will go all out studying it, because with the stock market, I ordered loads of books from the library and just studied it obsessively on my own. So starting at that young age, a lot of people say it's like a foreign language, learning the stock market. Well, it's like in my DNA now.
Yeah, yeah. Are you married now or anything? Or?
I've been married 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
The loss in prison.
I've never been married, so I don't understand that. But are you married now?
No.
Okay, fair. Got any kids?
No.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it might be. I think you ask these questions because your life has changed so much, hasn't it, over the years?
It has, yeah. It really has, yeah.
But you're a contented man at the moment.
Yeah, because I wake up with no dead rats in the food and cockroaches in the bed anymore. It's great. Things are good in the West. We've got it pretty damn good compared to a lot of the horrible stuff that's going on around the world.
I know. We whinge and moan about it, but we just don't know we're born in this country, do we?
Yeah.
Quite frankly, we look for problems. But yeah, we'll keep in touch. We'll send you what we do.
Okay.
And then we'll spread the word. You might, if somebody, hears this and wants to get hold of you and say book you, that's something they can just get hold of you.
Yeah, all my stuff's online. If they just email me, my contact details are online. All my social media.
You got a specific website?
Yeah.
It's just ShaunAttwood.com. ShaunAttwood.com. Yeah.
Got any other? What's your next project then?
I've got 2 books coming out. 2 Tonys is in the process of just being submitted to the publishers, and I've also got a book coming out about the war on drugs as well. Yeah.
Is there a film in 2 Tonys?
I think it's got the most film potential out of any of my projects.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that something you'll think about doing, or you never know?
If it happens, I think that would be great. Yeah, I think.
Who would play 2 Tonys? Do you reckon?
Who would play 2 Tonys? Oh my goodness! Someone like Tom Hardy, perhaps.
Yeah.
Actually, I just watched that movie Black Mass, and I watched Black Mass and I watched the Craze one, and I thought Johnny Depp in Black Mass. Oh my God, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. They'd love the Craze one as well, but I thought Johnny Depp pipped Tom Hardy on that.
I suppose just 2 Tonys will be documented on there. We'll find bits about him, no doubt. Was he quite a notorious mafia?
Is it the big guy? It's the big guy in the orange suit that you had this slide on, was it? The big.
No, he's the old man.
Oh, the
old man.
Tattoo,
Yeah.
The little skinny scroll.
Yeah. There's not much on him online. There are a few little bits and bobs about him being a bomber for the mafia. And he worked for the Bonanno crime family, which was the family who inspired The Godfather. And this was back in the old school tradition where you didn't harm women or kids. The mafia's now just murder your whole family and put it on YouTube. So he kind of went through the learning process with them and then ended up moving to Alaska and forming his own gangster clique in Alaska. Opened a nightclub there, married a wealthy woman, and got in a war with a biker gang over cocaine, and that's when the murders really started to happen. Yeah.
We'll watch The Sopranos.
So it's like Sons of Anarchy versus Goodfellas.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, great. Well, thanks for all your time. It's been really
Appreciate your time as well. Cheers. Thank you.